Function with Purpose podcast. All things health, wellness, fitness, and education through the physical therapy perspective. I am Dr. Amy Bullock, owner and founder of Fortress Physical Therapy. Fortress PT is here to serve the Charlotte metro area by highlighting the importance of how and why physical therapy should be a part of your health and wellness lifestyle. Here we go. Welcome to Season 11, Episode 8 of the Function with Purpose podcast. Dr. Amy here with you today. Thank you for joining in. This is the last episode of Season 11, and then we'll be on to Season 12. If there are any other topics that may be of interest for you to get some intel on from my perspective, please reach out. Let me know. I totally make all of these topics up, but a lot of them, or if not all of them, are based on patient interaction. So, which leads into today's final episode of Season 11, the UNTOLD 90-10 rule. What's that mean? You mean like 90-10 beef or turkey meat? No, I don't. I don't really mean that, but I guess you could kind of think of it that way, right? 90% lean, 10% fat. Yeah, that was funny. So with physiotherapy, typically what we see, or what I have experienced, or what the patient eventually should go through is the 90-10 rule, kind of like an unknown rule, R-U-L-E, not roll, I know, my accent, okay. So initially, when patients reach out, perhaps for their first initial evaluation, they're at this 10%, meaning they've done 10% of things or ways to help them feel better. Now, a lot of times patients do come to me because they're having an issue or experiencing pain. A lot of times it is pain, but it doesn't always have to be pain. That they are having pain with reaching their arm overhead or scratching their back, reaching behind their back, or maybe it's knee pain with walking or stooping. So they come to me with this 10%, what should I say, this 10% effort that they've tried some things on their own, or perhaps they may have seen a different healthcare provider. Maybe it was another PT or a physical therapist, or maybe it was a massage therapist, or maybe it was a chiropractor, or it could have been a medical doctor or a doctor of osteopathy, that the 10% effort that they put in, they haven't been experiencing the progress that they wish they would have had, right? So when patients come in for an initial evaluation on something, to me, I like to think of it as they're at this 10% effort level right now, where me, as the physio, I have to be their 90% effort right now. So when it comes to working or reaching out to a physiotherapist and getting help for ailments, an injury, setback, or perhaps you're recovering from surgery, or you might want to work on a particular movement, usually the patient is at this 10% effort. And I have to be that remaining 90% to help guide them, right? to help initially guide them through their timeline of healing so they can feel better, move better, function better, be better, etc., right? Which is FPT's, Fortress PT's motto, right? Function with purpose, right? That they need that 90% effort and help from someone else. And they just weren't receiving it from the 10% that they've been trying to do themselves. So this is kind of that untold 90-10% rule, 90%, 10% rule, that when patients first start with physio, maybe in this particular season, it's that 90% is on the physiotherapist and that 10% is on the patient. You are starting at that base level. When someone comes in for PT, my goal is to get to the core. My goal is to get to the core of what may be going on with that patient. What is contributing to their issue at hand? What is their chief complaint? I can't lift my arm overhead. Okay, what happened? Did something lead up to that? Did you do something perhaps silly in the gym? Maybe you lifted something heavy above your head and you haven't done that. And you're like, oh, now it hurts to reach for that Tupperware above the microwave. Because I did this stupid thing in class and I shouldn't have done it. Okay. So as the PT, the 90% of it, I have to really dig deep into what's going on. And the patient gives me the pieces because I have to ask them certain questions like an inspector, right? I like to think of the physiotherapist, myself, being Inspector Gadget. So I'm 90% Inspector Gadget, right? I'm trying to, if you ever seen that cartoon growing up in the 90s, or if you have not, go to YouTube. It's excellent. That as the PT, I got to help figure out the core of this, the origin. I got to peel back that first layer of the onion. Well, the patient tried to do that with their 10% effort, right? There's 10 layers to this. They only got 2, if at all, halfway through that first layer. Maybe that first layer is that 10%. Well, guess what? As the PT, when they first come in the door, I have to get to that. I got to pull back 20%. I got to pull back 30, 40, 50, all the way to 90. Right? Sometimes we do achieve that on the first visit. Sometimes. I'm talking 80% or more times. Whereas the next follow-up, the reassessment and treatment, we peel back, maybe we made it to that 40% layer of the onion, right? I'm peeling back because my goal is to get to that 90 because they're still trying to do their 10%, right? They're showing up, right? They're showing up at their physiotherapy visit. I'll take that. That's 10%. That's part of it. That's part of their rule or role, ROLE, right? Showing up and trying to figure it out. And I'm peeling back. I'm getting to the core. Okay, cool. We made leeway. All right. How much improvement do you feel from visit 1 to today? Better, same, worse? And can you put a percentage on it? Oh, I feel 70% better from the first visit. If I felt 0 on the first, in the second visit, I feel 70%. Oh, hot dang, we're already at that 70-80% layer. Because they're already giving me 10 because they're showing up. Well, guess what? We got to layer 80%. We're figuring this out. All right, next visit, they come in. All right, how's the shoulder feeling? How's reaching overhead? You know what? Reaching overhead is much better. I barely get any issue, pain, niggles. I tried a little bit of that dumbbell snatch in class, but I did get lower weight. I only did 15 pounds instead of 35. It's okay, I can do it, but man, I'm kind of sore after. All right, well, guess what? We're going to dig into that last 10%. We're going to get to that 90% level. This is what we need to do, X, Y, Z. We're going to do a little bit of manual therapy with my hands, maybe with the help of dry needling. And then we're going to take you out into the gym and get some time under tension. I'm not going to take you through the dumbbell snatch movement. I'm going to do something a little different, though. We're going to load the joint a little differently. Oh, okay, cool, awesome. All right, okay, this is your homework. This is what you're doing. I'll see you in 4 weeks. But the trade-off is you have to do this every day, if not every other day, or I challenge you 3 times a week, before and after your workouts. Oh, okay. I think I can do that. I can do that. Okay, cool. Awesome. They come back in. Oh, just hang on. Please hang on with me here. This is the last episode of season 11. Come back in. Session number 3 or 4. I don't know what number we're on right now. I feel almost 90%. This is awesome. Like 3-4 treatments in, I'm ready. I'm ready to get back to that 35-pound dumbbell snatch. Oh, wait, hold on here. Let's not jump the gun here. Let's not go ham. Okay, show me your dumbbell snatch. Show me it. Let's do a couple reps at 25, and then we'll go to 35. See how that goes with a couple reps. Okay, cool. Oh, from my perspective as a PT, all right, that actually kind of looks good. All right, I like that. All right, here's what we're going to do. Tomorrow's workout is 50 alternating dumbbell snatch. This is how I want you to think of it. You're going to keep that dumbbell close to your body. You are going to use, initially, a 25-pound dumbbell. You're going to do 20 alternating 25 dumbbell pound snatch. And then you're going to switch to the 35-pound. But here's the kicker. As you're warming up, I'm okay if you want to flip that. I'm okay if you want to use 35 pounds first, and maybe you do your first 12 alternating, or first 24 reps with the 35, and then you finish with a lighter weight. In fact, actually, I like that better now that we're talking. Because if we load it a little bit at the beginning, we build the fatigue up, and then we lessen the weight, we're building the capacity or the endurance, right, for that movement. So I'd rather you start out with the heavier that you're used to, and then let's back it off the remaining 25, 26 reps and finish it off with the 25-pound dumbbell. How's that sound? Oh, good. That's awesome. Sweet. All right. So we go through the assessment, right? So guess what? This is where that 90% of the physio effort and the 10% of the patient effort rule starts to switch. As the physiotherapist, I start lessening from 90% effort or guidance or directed treatment, right, to maybe 40. And then the patient has 60% of, if you want to say, effort or control of the situation, right? All right, cool. Send me a text message after you do this workout. Send me a text message right after and 24 hours after. Let me know how you feel. Okay, cool, awesome. All right, I'm going to see you in a month. Let's get on the PT schedule in 4 weeks. Let's see how you feel. If in 4 weeks you're like, something came up 2 weeks prior or before, or you're 2 weeks out before your scheduled visit, I feel like I might need to see, okay, just reach out. Let's get on the schedule. Okay, cool, awesome. Guess what? That untold 90-10 rule starts to flip. The physiotherapist starts to be the 10% effort. And then the patient starts to be the 90%. 90% effort or in charge. Because that's where it's at. That is where it's at with this quote-unquote untold 90-10% rule. Or 90-10 ground turkey, right? 90% lean, 10% fat. Okay, yeah. I like 97 and 3, but whatever. So that nagging issue, guess what? We were to cross that hump. We were to cross that speed bump quickly. Because all we did was talk to each other. We talked through the situation. We did some physio. We dosed it. We did some hands-on. We did some active passive therapies. We stayed in communication. We're texting each other back and forth. How'd the workout go? Oh, it actually went pretty good. My shoulder felt great. Okay, next time you come in, we're going to swap this movement out and put this in because this is how we're going to build capacity into that tissue. Can you do a single arm kettlebell overhead hold with 44 pounds for 1 minute? Straight arm locked out, non-fatigue. All right, I'm up for the challenge, Amy. I'm up for the challenge, Dr. Amy. In fact, I'm going to do it with you, patient. Who's going to win? Right? So, anyhow, you can make a little competition out of that. But that's eventually the goal. That is the goal. Every time I see a patient, if they're on a pretty good upward linear trajectory, now they're going to have little setbacks here and there, but hopefully they're not as intolerant, right? But then they know how to kind of mitigate that themselves. But it kind of stays when I work with patients for long periods. You know, they check in once a month. We should be at that 90% patient effort or control, right? 10% physiotherapist effort. Man, it might even be a 97 and 3 ground turkey meat, right? 97% patient control or effort. And the last 3 is physio, right? The more power the patient has, the better, because they are the director of their story. I have to help them continue to be the director. So that is the sweet spot. That is the sweet spot of having that well-balanced health, wellness, fitness, and recovery processes. The systems in place. Well, I just don't understand why you keep going to PT once a month or once every 6 weeks. Why not? Why not? Because we can always do something. We can always improve something. We can always build upon the previous session. Why not? Why not have that? Maybe there's a little tweak in nutrition that we need to talk about. Man, I'm just not hitting my protein. Okay, well, have you thought about this? This is what I do. I have this awesome, nice nighttime snack. It's sweet. It's a little savory, a little bit of saltiness. I make my cool little, whey protein Greek yogurt, crushed Oreos, and 70% Ghirardelli morsels. Chocolate. And it's so satisfying. Guess how much protein's in that? There's almost 50 grams of protein, and it tastes yummy. Well, man, I could put it in the freezer for a little while, then it will almost be kind of like ice cream. Cool. Man, that sounds so good, Amy. All right, I'm sold. Let's see how that sits. I got 50 grams of protein in my belly at the end of the day and the start of the day. Guess what? There's 100. Man, wow. Magic. So, there's kind of this indirect, untold 90-10% rule when patients come and see me. But however, the first couple visits, it's more 90% effort on me or guidance, and the remaining that makes up that 100% is on the patient. Maybe it's 15%, maybe it's 20%, maybe it's 10%, right? But eventually over time, that role or rule, right? The rule, R-U-L-E, will switch, where it's 90% on the patient, 10% on the physio or healthcare provider, right? Because they're getting more in tune with their body. Guess what? You want to have a more effective and efficient dumbbell power snatch? This is how I set up because I learned from this. I went to a CrossFit camp 5 times over the past 5 years. I learned some little golden nuggets from them, yeah? Well, how about we emphasize a little bit more of that dumbbell towards the inner side of the opposing foot. As we drive up, we're going to push a little bit more with that opposing foot, take a little rest off or weight bearing on that other leg, and then we're going to breathe right at the top. As we come down, we're switching hands into our face. That's when we inhale or exhale. That's when we inhale. We come back down, and then we're going to emphasize. We're going to mirror image that on the other side. Huh! I never would have thought about that. Because if you're holding tension somewhere else and not actually in the concentric movement of the dumbbell snatch, you really, literally are wasting effort. Oh my gosh, I never really, no. Wow, that's pretty methodical there, Dr. Amy. Well, yeah, that's what I do. I methodically think about things, right? And that is the continuation. That is the continuation of staying on your physiotherapist schedule. Because you're the 90%, I'm the 10%. I help you think and become more of a thinking athlete, which then carries over to your health span, lifespan outside of the gym, right? Makes sense? Totally makes sense. 100%. Wow. A little shorter today. Thanks for hanging in there. Does this sound like you? Do you foresee yourself getting to that position? Not only seeking out physiotherapy for an issue, but it honestly could be for an accountability thing, right? Because I'll tell you, as a physiotherapist, I can find something that, quote unquote, you're bad at or not good at or less efficient at or are not moving well at, right? I have issues. I don't move well in certain things, right? I'm on my own physio schedule. I go see him once, twice a month, once every other month, right? That's the untold 90-10 rule. 90% patient, 10% physio. But initially, it might be flipped. And then eventually, the baton is with the patient, right? The patient is the director. The patient is the director of their health, wellness, fitness, and recovery. And you're just going to help them think more in depth. That's a wrap for today's episode, Function with Purpose Podcast. For more information on this episode, please check out the show notes within your podcast app. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, or drop your comments and questions below. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Thanks for the listen. Pursuit, precision, purpose.